On October 19, 1995, the young and vibrant 23-year-old nurse Christina Tina Marie, or Tina, left home to finally break free from her unhappy marriage. John Sandowal was once the love of her life, and she was deeply in love. However, the marriage soon fell apart, and she took the decision to finally move on. She left home determined to start anew, but tragically, it would be the last time anyone would ever see her. Tina vanished without a trace. Her disappearance left her loved ones in anguish, with no clues to her whereabouts for over 22 agonizing years. Police suspected John Sandowal, her ex-husband, but it led them nowhere. After 2 decades, she was finally found, although in a state her loved ones never hoped for. Why did Tina disappear without a trace? What sinister plan did she become a victim to? Tina was born on March 17, 1972, to Michael and Mary Ellen. Being the second of 9 children in her bustling family, she grew up to be a family-oriented person. She was a spirited kid and excelled in both school and college. She went to Windsor High School and was a skilled basketball and volleyball player, while also showcasing her skills as a singer in the school band. Overall, she had an impressive track record and was loved by all. As she grew up, she looked after her brothers and sisters, which made her caring and compassionate. As such, it was no surprise that she chose to become a nurse. Right after school, she applied at Ames Community College and earned an associate's degree in nursing. Her devotion to studies knew no bounds. Soon after, she began pursuing a Bachelor of Science in Nursing from the University of Northern Colorado. To gain experience, she even worked as a licensed practical nurse during weekends. Needless to say, she graduated in the top 5% of her nursing class in May of 1995. Her hard work had finally paid off. The same year, she joined as a nurse in the oncology department at North Colorado Medical Center. It was a fitting beginning for someone with such a compassionate heart. During the mid-'80s, John Sandowal entered Tina's life and swept her off her feet. John was an energetic student who was pursuing a career in radiology technology. The duo met for the first time at Ames Community College. Their connection was deep, and Tina found herself falling for his charm and tender words. After dating for a while, the couple decided to be each other's support system for the rest of their lives. On December 31, 1991, in the backdrop of the breathtaking beauty of the Colorado Rocky Mountains, they exchanged their wedding vows. John even toasted for having the best woman besides her for the rest of his life. She was on top of the world. However, this seemingly happy marriage didn't last long, as John had been hiding a dark secret. 3 years into the marriage, Tina understood that things weren't working out between them. John never became a radiology technician and was struggling to maintain a regular job. However, that didn't bother Tina much. What truly shocked Tina was the revelation that her husband was, in fact, a prolific peeping Tom. The illusion of having a perfect marriage shattered in mere moments. Tina found it difficult to believe that John was someone who would sneak out to watch the private moments of neighbors in the middle of the night. At one point, she noticed him leaving their bed late at night, only to enter the neighbor's backyard and steal women's undergarments. To add on to the already disturbing behavior, John had kept those undergarments as some sort of twisted trophy. That wasn't all. He would even follow random young ladies and would stalk them for days, as he loved to watch them from the shadows as he indulged in his voyeuristic pleasure. After finding this out, Tina understood her marriage was beyond repair. She felt like being trapped in a nightmare. She had enough of John's perverse behavior and took the bold step of filing for divorce in 1995. In the hope of starting over, she left John and moved into a new apartment. However, John was not ready to let her go and began stalking her. There was even an instant where John parked his car near her apartment for several hours. John would even call the North Colorado Medical Center reception every morning at 6 a.m. The receptionist even told him that what he was doing was beyond pale. However, that did not deter him, and he was hell-bent on winning Tina back. After Tina left, the neighbors also began complaining about his drug and alcohol abuse. The police had to confront him frequently due to his tendencies as a peeping Tom. Overall, John found himself going through a heap of troubles that he brought upon himself. Despite the unsettling marriage, Tina found some solace through trusted friends at work and had begun to socialize again. She had even started dating and was finally at peace. However, in the back of her mind, her unresolved marriage always lingered, so she had decided to meet John and speed up the divorce. On October 19, 1995, Tina had decided to get off from her night shift early to meet John. She had even informed her sister and coworkers about her plan to meet her ex-husband after work. Being really nervous about meeting him, Tina told her sister and colleagues that if something bad were to happen, then the one responsible would be John. The meeting was really important as she had to get John to sign some crucial documents and address the IRS debt to quickly break free from the doomed marriage. Even though she tried to bring up the matter to John, it never ended well. He would act violently and oppose the idea of Tina dating someone else or letting her finalize the divorce. Tina understood that she had to at least take her sister Susan for the meeting. However, she was stuck at work and couldn't make it. So Susan asked Tina to contact her immediately after the meeting and update her. Unfortunately, Tina's update call never came. Susan waited for the entire day, and after a point, she understood waiting wouldn't do any good. She was still at work and had called her mother to check on Tina. Mary, Tina's mother, had rushed to Tina's apartment. Her heart skipped a beat when she found out her daughter was not in the apartment or at work. Filled with concern, she went to John's house next. His aunt, who rented the basement of the house, didn't give her a positive reply and stated she hadn't noticed them. Right when Mary was about to leave, she noticed Tina's coat was mysteriously left behind at John's house. Immediately, she could feel that something had been amiss. Alarmed, she called police right away, marking the beginning of a complicated investigation to unveil the truth behind Tina's disappearance. John was naturally the primary suspect due to their rocky marriage and the alarming reason behind it. Also, the fact that Tina feared something might happen to her upon meeting John couldn't be ignored, raising even more suspicion on him. Initially, the police searched Tina's apartment. It was clear that she went home after work as her nurse's uniform was found and nothing unusual was discovered from the apartment. However, they couldn't find her car. In the early hours of October 20th, around 3 a.m., Tina's car was located just 4 blocks away from John's house, heightening the suspicion. Police dogs were used in an attempt to track Tina's scent, which led the police straight to John's residence. They were absolutely convinced that they had the culprit and could arrest him in no time. Being a prolific peeping Tom wasn't the only black mark on John's record. He had a troubled past, with several arrests and convictions for harassment and burglary. Initially, the police had sent an investigator in regular clothes to keep watch until John reached home. It was 4:45 in the morning when he was finally spotted. However, when they reached him, John was already in the shower, so they couldn't confront him with possible evidence they could have collected before he showered. As John had sensed the police, he even tried to escape by jumping out of the bedroom window, but he ended up getting caught. Police obtained a search warrant for John's house and found his ex-wife's credit cards. However, the cards had not been used for 4 days before her disappearance. With the police being suspicious about John's overall activity and evidence, he was taken into interrogation. During the interrogation, the detectives had noticed fresh scratch marks on John's face, neck, chest, and shoulders. The police were determined to reveal the truth and check the surveillance cameras. They in fact found visuals of John returning home early in the morning on October 20th, 1995. Shockingly, the police had also found a wet shovel, rope, a 5-gallon bucket, and muddy clothes inside his car. Despite having such obvious signs, the police couldn't find solid evidence that would connect John to Tina's disappearance. Detective Keith Olson noted John's suspicious behavior and sent an officer to monitor him at home. However, nothing of relevance could be found. Due to a lack of solid evidence against John, the police were not able to hold him responsible and arrest him for the disappearance of Tina. Meanwhile, John was taken into custody as someone had already filed a trespassing case against him. As the evidence was strong, he pleaded guilty. He was sent to prison for 4 years based on that case. After release, he almost immediately moved to Las Vegas, Nevada. For nearly 2 decades, Tina's case sat on the cold and dusty shelf without finding a glimmer of hope. Tina's family was determined to bring the truth out. In 2009, a district attorney finally laid his hands on the case and issued an arrest. He brought into light evidence that was enough to officially pronounce Tina as dead and her suspicious disappearance to be considered a murder. The police left no stone unturned and inspected his Las Vegas home. What they witnessed was beyond imagination. There were 2 portraits of Tina on the wall, adorned in a petite black dress. Detective Mike Prill then got his hands on 100 VHS tapes and 70 mini VHS tapes. In those tapes, John was seen filming 4 women for about 17 minutes, until he assaulted one of them. Finally, on June 18, 2009, John Sandowal was arrested. During the trial, prosecution brought in John's cousin, Jesse Martinez. He played a crucial role in deciding the final verdict. 1 month after Tina left John, she had gotten into a relationship with Jesse. He stated that John always stalked Tina and was looking for a chance to harm her. On August 5, 2010, John was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. However, in spring of 2016, the court overturned his conviction due to a lack of solid evidence. John understood that he would never get out of the prison if he didn't negotiate. So he chose to finally disclose the location of his ex-wife in exchange for a leniency in his prison time. With no other option left, Tina's family had reluctantly agreed to his demand. In March of 2017, after 22 years of not knowing Tina's whereabouts, the family met their precious family member at Sunset Memorial Garden Cemetery, located at 3400 West 28th Street in Greeley, Colorado. Tina's body was wrapped in several layers of industrial-grade plastic. She had been buried 2 feet below the grave of a World War II veteran, Arthur Hurt. So how did John know about such burial details? In 1995, John used to work at the cemetery. After finding out a burial was to take place on October 20th, 1995, he dug 2 feet below the open grave and buried Tina's corpse. Later, the cemetery workers had unknowingly buried the body of the veteran over Tina's body. Despite showing the burial site, John still did not admit to her murder. What was in it for John? As part of the plea deal, he received a reduced sentence of 25 years in prison, along with an additional 5 years of parole. John's release date has been a topic of concern. However, due to a plea agreement reached in 2017, he became eligible for parole in 2020, after serving just 12 years due to credit for time served. Tina's family, particularly her sister Kelly Fryan, expressed surprise at the parole eligibility date, as they had not anticipated it until much later. They continued to oppose John Sandowal's potential release and submit victim statements every 6 months to contest it. John's next parole hearing is scheduled for January 2026, with his expected release date set for 2032, as stated in his inmate records. Despite these dates, his release is not guaranteed, and Tina's family remains vigilant in their efforts to keep him behind bars. The family was genuinely alarmed when John tried striking a plea deal in exchange for her burial site. Although they found closure, they continue to fight to keep the animal behind the cage. Although they found Tina, the truth behind her murder remains a mystery, and that sets the case different from other such heinous crimes. Towards the end, a question lingers. How could he do this to someone he loved and shared love